Hello and welcome to the ScatterVolt channel, and today we're going to be going over the best and worst graphics cards to buy for the month of August. So overall, the graphics card market is not too shabby, and if you needed to buy a graphics card for the month of August, now is actually not a bad time, especially if you're in the United States. So if you feel like you missed out on last month's Amazon Prime Week or Newegg Fantastic sales, then don't, because from what I can tell on GPUs.gg, overall, graphics card prices have remained relatively the same with the exception of a few high-end models, but quite a few more affordable and mainstream graphics card options are not only close to MSRP, but a few are even at MSRP, which is a great thing to say, especially knowing where we came from back in April and March when graphics card prices were out of control. And as an aside for my Americans, the current 10% tariff on all Taiwanese goods entering the United States is set to expire. So right now there are current ongoing negotiations between Taiwan and the United States for how they're going to negotiate their tariff, because virtually every single graphics card I'm going to be talking about in this video is made and manufactured in Taiwan, and they're all going to be brought over to the United States. So I don't know if graphics card prices are going to go up or if they're going to stay relatively the same based off that tariff. But what is for certain is that right now, current graphics card inventory in the United States is not horrifically overpriced. And like I said, quite a few are actually at MSRP. So to reiterate, if you wanted a graphics card and you live in the United States, now is not a bad time to buy, especially if you're a student looking for a 3D modeling and CAD supported graphics card. So enough talk, let's get into my recommendations, starting at below $200. So for all my broke boys out there, let's go ahead and look at the best graphics cards below $200. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the slider to 210, show me. And we've got only the Intel Arc A750, but note, this isn't technically a brand new graphics card. It's actually a refurbished model here for $175, so technically used. This is actually not too bad, but there's definitely more graphics card options than this. If you're looking to make the most of your dollar below 200 bucks, you gotta go on a used marketplace. So a few options are like Facebook Marketplace, like I got here, there's tons of graphics cards you can find. And of course you have the once in a blue moon ScatterVolt online garage sale, which has some pretty sick deals, I may add. But those are all one-time graphics card deals. And if you need a reliable marketplace for used graphics cards, especially for an online community that is built by PC gamers for PC gamers, then do check out Java.gg. And I've got a few sub $200 graphics cards I quickly want to show you. For instance, here's a GTX 1660 Ti you can get right now for 90 bucks. If somebody doesn't get this, then I will, because this is an excellent deal for a 1080p gaming graphics card. You can even get an RTX 2060 for 140 bucks by the official Java store themselves, so it's going to be verified and working. This is a good price for an RTX 2060. You can even get an RX 6600 right now for 170 bucks. This is also not too bad. And I think this used RX 6600 XTs from XFX is going to be a great 1080p gaming graphics card, and even some light 1440p gaming for about $200 on the dot. So if you want to check out Java.gg and all these other used graphics card deals that I just covered, do check the link at the top of the description below and check these out. So let's cut to the chase and find the best budget graphics card on GPUs.gg, which is what I recommend. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide the price here from 200 to, we'll do 350. Go ahead and click show me. And we've got our budget graphics cards here listed. And at the very top, I've got the Intel Arc B580, which now holds the title for the best budget GPU right now on GPUs.gg. There's a lot of reasons why I like this graphics card, and it's only gotten better because it's finally dropped in price. So last month, this graphics card was retailing for $300 on the dot, which was not that enticing because you had other competing graphics cards like the RX 9060 XT 16GB only retailing for about $60 more than this, yet offering superior performance. But finally, this graphics card is 260 bucks, getting it very close to MSRP, which is great to see from the B580 because now it's at a much more compelling price point. Because if you look at other competing graphics cards in its price range, you've got the RX 9060 XT 8GB and RTX 5060, which I'll say this up front, both of which at 1080p are on average faster than the B580. But finally, the B580 is making up for that performance deficit by being less in price. However, you always got to keep this in mind with the B580 versus those two other graphics cards, and it's that this has 12 gigabytes of VRAM, which helps it out in a few scenarios, which you couldn't say for the 9060 XT 8 gigabytes and RTX 5060 8 gigabytes. There are certain games at 1080p where if you set the graphics settings to very high or ultra, or even at 1440p at higher graphical settings, you'll saturate the video memory way quicker on those 8 gigabyte graphics cards than the 12 on the B580, and you'll run into micro stuttering issues and poor 1% lows on the 9060 XT 8 gigabytes and RTX 5060 8 gigabytes, and the performance will also suffer as well. Now that doesn't go for all PC games, but for some of the newer ones coming out that are very intensive on video memory, that's where the B580, while retailing for less, is going to shine. On top of it being a capable graphics card for ray tracing, being able to utilize Intel XeSS, which is Intel's version of DLSS for their graphics cards, on top of being able to use AMD FSR, because frame generation from AMD isn't just for AMD cards, it can also be used on Intel. And for my video editors out there, don't forget this is an Intel GPU, so it has the built-in Intel Quick Sync codec, which is really nice for decoding and encoding footage like this that you see here on screen from my Sony camera being filmed at 4K, 10-bit, 422, H.265. So all in all, it's finally a good buy for under 300 bucks. And it's gonna do great at 1080p, also great at 1440p, video editing, ray tracing, and have plenty of memory, all below 300 bucks. It's a good buy. But then to cover the other graphics cards, the ones that I don't quite recommend below 300 bucks. First up, and the next graphics card I would technically recommend, but not so much, we have the RX 9060 XT 8 gigabytes. The actual RX 9060 XT GPU itself is actually pretty impressive. It beats the RTX 5060 in performance at 1080p, but what holds this GPU back is its 8 gigabytes of memory, which won't be an issue at certain games at 1080p, but going forward into the future, it very well could be. You wouldn't want to run GTA 6 on this graphics card, even at medium settings at 1080p, and then already start running into memory issues, which you wouldn't find in the B580. So if you exclusively play esports games, this is an okay GPU, but I still wouldn't quite recommend it alongside the RTX 5060, which I intentionally have linked the low profile card because it retails for $340, so yeah, it's higher, but it's the only version of the 5060 I'd really recommend. Because if you wanted the fastest, small form factor graphics card, that's only gonna come in the form of the RTX 5060 if you're looking to build a very small ITX system. Otherwise, don't even bother with this graphics card. It has 8 gigabytes of VRAM and an even more limited PCI Express 5.0 X8 slot. So once again, if you run into memory issues, still not gonna look pretty on this graphics card. Again, only good for esports if you play super easy to run PC games that your grandma's PC could already run. And again, if you wanna do ray tracing on a graphics card like this, you're going to need VRAM. And VRAM is gonna get eaten up even more so when you enable ray tracing in your games. So this is only worth it for the low profile 5060. And that's it. Now to round off our graphics cards in this segment, I have the B570. It's all right. I personally spend the extra 40 bucks to level up to the B580 because that performance jump and increase in VRAM is definitely worth it. But this for 230, I'd like to see it go down in price, closer to 200, and then I'd be more happy to recommend it because this is a 1080p gaming graphics card with 10 gigabytes of VRAM, which is all right. It just needs a bit more oomph, which the B580 has the oomph and the VRAM. This kind of has the VRAM, but doesn't have the oomph. But that can be mitigated if the price of the B570 were lower, which it's not right now. So wait for this to go on a discount. And finally, don't buy the RTX 5050 unless it's $200, because even the RTX 5050 is slower than the RTX 4060. It's a disappointment. Now for the best mid-range graphics cards for the month of August. To cut straight to the chase, I think my favorite mid-range graphics card right now is still gonna have to be the Radeon RX 9070, which is a bit of a stretch to say because admittedly, it does start at $600 here in the United States, but hear me out. If you check out the RX 9070, it is about $50 more expensive than the RTX 5070 right now, but that $50 increase in price is definitely worth it because the RX 9070 comes with 4 gigabytes more of VRAM, which is basically a requirement for a graphics card that's gonna cost $550 to $600 in 2025. It also has better rasterization performance, and most surprisingly, it has ray tracing performance per dollar that is on par with the RTX 5070. So one of the primary reasons why one would even want to consider an Nvidia graphics card in the first place, that being better ray tracing performance, is nullified because the 9070 matches it. So all these reasons would pretty much push me to get an RX 9070 over the Nvidia RTX 5070 if I had the choice. But the only reason I would possibly consider the 5070 in this price range, especially if you're a student, is if I go here to tags and I go ahead and click 3D rendering and CAD and engineering, show me. And here the RTX 5070 is recommended for either 3D rendering or CAD models if you're an engineering student, like I just said, because it has CUDA cores and still a decent amount of VRAM that is usable. That'd be the only use case I really look at getting the RTX 5070 for over the RX 9070. Otherwise, RX 9070 all day. However, if you wanted a cheaper Nvidia graphics card that could also do CAD and 3D modeling, look at the RTX 5060 Ti 16GB. Once again, it also features CUDA cores, but you want to make sure you get the 16GB card because it is absolutely a faster graphics card versus the 8GB model, which is infinitely cursed. Do not get the 8GB. And I just want to throw this out there. One of the other reasons why I like the 5060 Ti 16GB is that it does have faster GDDR7 memory modules, which does actually help it out in this scenario because although it has a small 128-bit memory bus, that faster memory module allows it to push more information through that small bus, letting it have actually a decently fast memory bandwidth, which is something that helps out the RTX 5060 Ti 16GB in the year 2025, but didn't really for the old RTX 4060 Ti 16GB because that had older GDDR6 memory modules that didn't really help it out in that situation. So if you couldn't afford a 5070, then I think a 5060 Ti 16GB for about $100 less isn't that bad. But the other elephant in the room I gotta address here is the RX 9060 XT 16GB because while yes, the 5060 Ti 16GB is okay, if you strictly wanted a graphics card for gaming and streaming and light video editing, but for way less than the 5060 16GB while retaining the same amount of VRAM, look no further than this. Right now you can pick it up for about $380, although there is an ASRock card for $370 on Newegg that I don't want to link. I only want to link this nice Sapphire card that I have here for $380 because Sapphire is a good brand with great warranty. But if you're just looking for an all-around 1440p gaming graphics card with a lot of VRAM, ray tracing performance, great streaming quality, while keeping the price of everything low, this is it. Especially if you're building a $1,000 gaming PC in 2025, you're gonna wanna go with the 9060 XT, usually over the RTX 5060 Ti to make the most of your dollar. Again, the only scenario you want to consider that Nvidia graphics card for over this would have to be, again, for either AI, 3D modeling, CAD, anything like that, which we're gonna cover now. And I do quickly want to say, if you are enjoying this video, a like would be greatly appreciated to help boost this video in the YouTube algorithm, because you know how competitive it is nowadays and any likes are greatly appreciated. And if you enjoy GPU of the month videos, you might want to subscribe because I make these every month. And I'm always inspecting prices on gpus.gg, so I'm always tracking the market. Anyways, to cut to the chase, my favorite high-end graphics card for the month of August is actually not going to go to the RX 9070 XT for one reason: pricing. Pricing for the RX 9070 XT isn't where I'd like it to be versus the RTX 5070 Ti for $100 more. Now that said, that doesn't take away from the fact that this is still a rock hard graphics card. It punches so well above its price category. At times, it doesn't just outperform the RTX 5070 Ti, but it even outperforms the RTX 5080, which is really funny considering how much less expensive the RX 9070 XT is versus the 5070 Ti. Or sorry, versus the 5080. On top of this having 16 gigabytes of VRAM, the updated RDNA architecture that makes it actually really good for ray tracing now. On top of the improved streaming performance and all that fun stuff with the architecture that comes with these RX 9000 GPUs. Just once again, pricing is the downfall right now for the RX 9070 XT, because if we check gpus.gg, this retails right now at the lowest for $720. And last month, you could find them for $700 in plenty of stock. So I want to see pricing and availability improve on the 9070 XT, and I especially want to see it get below $700 because look at what is breathing down its neck, the RTX 5070 Ti. Now, yes, I am aware that the RX 9070 XT has closed the gap in performance versus the 5070 Ti, but what's remarkable about this graphics card right now for the month of August is that during Amazon Prime Week, this graphics card hit an all-time low price of $830. And if we check right now on gpus.gg, it's still the same price. And actually here on Amazon, for some reason, you can pick up this card now at an all-time low of $822. And Amazon.com won't even tell you that. And for about $100 more than the RX 9070 XT. Yes, there are going to be some titles that the RX 9070 XT will outperform the 5070 Ti on, but if you're spending this much on a graphics card, yes, this is also going to provide excellent ray tracing performance, just like the RX 9070 XT. But also think about this. You may be someone who's more than just a gamer. You could be someone who is a serious video editor and you want to take advantage of the updated codecs that came with the RTX 5070 Ti and above for compressed 4K H.265 footage, like what I'm shooting in this video. Or you could be someone who is serious about artificial intelligence and you want your graphics card to also do that on top of gaming. And you also could be someone who's serious about 3D modeling and CAD software for any sort of research or professional work, and you also want to have that on top of your gaming graphics card that you're dropping over $700 on, which all those additional features can't really be said as well for the RX 9070 XT, which is why I want this graphics card to go down in price, because this really just for gaming and streaming and light video editing is awesome. Just it needs to be below $700 because for only $100 more, I think the 5070 Ti is a little bit more well-rounded. And also for the majority of you watching this video, this is all you need. You don't need the 5080. Let me talk about the 5080. The 5080 is $1,360. So you're paying an additional $500 to upgrade from a 5070 Ti to a 5080. And guess what? You're only getting an extra 10% in performance while paying almost 40% more in price, if my math is right. The math just does not add up. And also it doesn't help that the 5080 has the same, or actually, it has the exact same memory as the 5070 Ti. So you're not getting an upgrade in terms of memory, and you're not getting that much of an upgrade in terms of performance. And sure, there are rumors of the 5080 Super that are going to address the VRAM issues of this graphics card, but we all know the moment those Super Series cards come out, no matter how good they are, they're gonna get scalped to hell, they're not gonna be in stock, and they're not gonna be anywhere close to their MSRPs, and it's gonna be a whole crap show, just like when this card first came out, and still to this day is horrifically overpriced. Do not get the 5080, it is not worth the additional $500. Please save your money. This is horrifically overpriced. It's still $350 over MSRP. Do not get the 5080, save yourself the money, get a 5070 Ti. Heck, it's even got the same chip. It's just slightly cut down. Oh yeah, and to finish out the video, 5090 because, you know, for the memes, because this is technically the highest end graphics card you can get right now. It's still horrifically above MSRP by about $800. But hey, if you got the cash to drop on it and you need it for any serious AI stuff, if you need it for your super expensive VR gaming rig with that $10,000 VR headset that could effectively utilize the 32 gigabytes of GDDR7 memory on the 5090, then great. But for the majority of you watching this video, you don't need a 5090. The 5090 is beyond your means anymore. This GPU is for professional work, pretty much. It's just in another league right now, and you can tell clearly by the price. So with all that said, all the GPUs I talked about in this video, as well as gpus.gg, can be found in the description down below. along with our sponsor, Java.gg. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and this is the ScatterVolt channel, signing out.